Okay. Well, hello again, everyone. My name is Victor Santiago, Associate Director for Student and Recent Alumni Engagement here at RIT. Thank you all for joining us for today's webinar, Agave, the Tahona, and NAMS, Putting Tequila in Perspective. This event is hosted by RIT University Advancement as we gear up to Brick City Homecoming and Family Weekend, which actually starts tomorrow and goes into Sunday. I'd like to take this time to go over a few housekeeping items to make sure that you have a great experience during the webinar. All attendees will not be seen on the screen. Only the presenters will be visible to everyone. However, if you have any questions for our panelists anytime during the program, please consider entering them in the Q&A box located at the bottom of your screen. Live captioning is provided during today's webinar. And thank you to our captionists for helping us make today's webinar accessible to all of our RIT Tigers. Today's webinar will be recorded and available, complete with captions, in approximately 7 to 10 business days following today's event. If you have any technical questions throughout today's webinar, please feel free to type those into the chat box and we will do our best to get those figured out, basically. Now on to our webinar. Today we have RIT alumnus Thomas Rogers, or as I like to call him, TJ, a graduate from the class of 2012, earning his BS degree from the College of Liberal Arts in psychology. He started his wine and spirits journey while at RIT by attending several wine and food pairing classes taught by Lorraine Hems, another RIT alum. While he was still at RIT, he began working for East Avenue Liquor and Wine, where he is now the operations manager. His current role at the store has offered him some very unique opportunities, such as traveling to Mexico. And today, he will give us a glimpse at what the trip entailed and some more insight on the making of one of my favorite spirits, tequila. TJ, I'll pass on the mic and the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Victor. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. Let me share my screen here so we can learn about tequila. All right. So thank you so much, Victor, for that warm welcome. I have some intro slides, but I don't believe they'll live up to everything you just said. So again, my name's TJ Rogers, RIT class of 2012, earning a bachelor's of science in psychology. I am a Rochester native, wine and spirit partisan or enthusiast, as some might say, and an occasional Hawaiian shirt wearer depicted over there. So what I do, I currently manage the day-to-day operations of a retail liquor store in Rochester, New York. And every day I get to make work into play. I get to excite people just like you about wines and spirits. And more people seem to be interested in the stories behind the products that they're looking for before they purchase them. And they want to understand the story behind it and understand the quality that's associated with those products. And I'm here to be their spirit guide. So why tequila? Well, why not tequila? Tequila has a rich history and has been in production for hundreds of years. Having the opportunity to travel for work has greatly expanded my knowledge of wine and spirits to aid my customers. So another thing is getting outside of comfort zones. It's very important to change your worldview, and I don't speak very much Spanish, but I am determined to learn along the way. So to help put tequila into focus, let's talk about where it comes from and build a foundation of understanding. We'll talk about the plant, a belief system surrounding the agave, its growing environment, and the life cycle of the agave, more specifically the Blue Weber or agave azul. So the plant, it's actually not a cactus, as some people may assume. It is of the family Asparagiaceae. Yes, just like the vegetable, for those of us that got into gardening during COVID. The Blue Weber is used almost exclusively for tequila production, and it's characterized by a rosette of leathery leaves that have spines all along the edge. There are other types of agave that produce similar style spirits, but this one stands out because it's pale green to blue-gray. That's why they call it the blue Weber agave. And it can have stripes. One unique thing about the agave is that it reproduces in multiple ways. One way is vegetatively, and it's generally monocarpic, which means that it'll send up a stalk with flowers on the end to reproduce that way. Second way is through rhizomes, which are actual clones of the parent plant. Anyone who has spider plants in their home know exactly what I'm talking about. So the unique thing about the agave as well is that its completion of photosynthesis is done at night to reduce the amount of water loss that it sees, especially in the climate that it grows in. And speaking about the worm, this is actually a larvae in the stage cycle of a moth, and it feeds off of the agave, which is actually a sign of disease. And we'll be able to see agave in a field in just a moment. The next up is Mayoel. So this is a belief system that surrounds the agave. And Mayoel is the Aztec goddess of agave and also the goddess of pulque. Pulque is actually believed to be the original beverage that was discovered or gifted to the gods, well, to mankind from the gods. And it's actually made from the sap of the agave, which is fermented like a beer and not distilled like tequila. What's also not pictured here is her children. There are 400 baby rabbits that are also used to describe the 400 different faces of drunkenness that people can experience. And the picture to the right shows a statue of Mayoel, and they're commonplace around the region. Let's talk about the growing environment. There are actually 5 different states in Mexico that can be used to grow agave for tequila production. Jalisco is the main one. And that's actually where the town of Tequila is located. The town of Tequila itself is a World Heritage Site. And the climate for this region is tropical savanna. So think of moderate to warmer temperatures on average, with a rainy season occurring in the summertime and in the fall. Rain outside of the rainy season is usually seen as good luck, and Mayoel is blessing you or the environment. One other notable thing is that the lava rock is a majority of the composition of the soil. And we'll actually shed some light on that in a moment. Looking at the growing environment again. So the left-hand picture is in the actual valley of Tequila. And this is a view from the hill in the center of the valley. And it's property that's owned by the Originating family, one of the oldest tequila producing families in the region. Note the patchwork of different colors of agave in each field plot and how they blanket as far as the eye can see. The agave is just abundant here and absolutely beautiful. On the right, you can actually see the dormant volcano that contributed to the local geography. That's why the soil composition is mainly lava rock. So this is a view from the hill just behind the tequila distillery Fortaleza, and this looks toward the small town of Tequila. The hike to this point is no walk in the park, but a cold beer at the top makes it worth every step. And the Fortaleza distillery is actually the largest landowner within the town limits of Tequila. So this is a bit of a sneak peek into Tequila 201. And we're going to talk about the lowland, which is the valley of Tequila. And a reference point as to where these two areas are is the city of Guadalajara, which is a large metropolitan area toward the west coast of Mexico. The lowland, the valley of Tequila, is north and west of Guadalajara. And one of the main points in this area is the 220,000-year-old volcano that we saw a picture of earlier. Styles of tequila from this area tend to be more masculine, They have a little more minerality and deeper vegetal notes. Then we talk about the highland, or the Los Altos. This is about 6,000 feet above sea level, and that's east-northeast of Guadalajara. And these are notable in their iron-rich red clay soils. Styles of tequila from this region tend to be softer, some say more feminine in style, and show a little bit more fruit. Now that we understand the growing areas of agave, let's talk about the early life cycle of agave. Agave can be found in the wild, but it can also be farmed. Blue Weber agave tends to be farmed in commercial scenarios. On the left-hand side, you see agave that have just recently been planted all the way up to about 3 years old. Notice the rows that the agave are planted in. This is to aid in access to the agave and allows for plenty of room to grow because they do grow very large. The rows also aid in weed and pest management and allow for the grounds to be fertilized and just overall proper maintenance of the fields. On the right-hand side, you'll see agave that are on average to be about 3 years to 5 years old. And some of those rhizomes are peeking through on some of the empty parts of the rows. Some farmers will actually allow horses to roam the fields and eat the weeds that grow and fertilize the area as well. Let's take a look at the late life cycle of agave. Between 5 to 7 years is about the middle of the life cycle of the agave. And on average, a Blue Weber agave will grow leaves that are up to 7 feet in length. It's pretty big for a plant that grows right on the ground. Blue agaves will sprout a stalk or a quiote that can grow up to 16 feet. And that's at about their 7-year-old mark. And those are topped with very bright yellow flowers. This is why we call them monocarpic, is because they send up one stalk with the flowers on top. The flowers are normally pollinated by insects and hummingbirds and the greater long-nosed bat that's native to that region. And each quiote will produce several thousand seeds per plant, and many of those seeds will actually be sterile. After that flowering and seeding, the plant tends to die. Due to these reproductive methods and highly commercialized cultivation, this has led to a considerable loss of genetic diversity in the Blue Weber agave and makes it prone to diseases. Now that we understand a little bit more about the plant itself, let's talk about how tequila is made. We're going to cover harvesting, cooking, crushing, fermentation, then distillation, aging with the levels and the terms, bottling, and then a nom-number explanation. First, harvesting. This is a very labor-intensive process. A humidor, which is a farmer or a worker that harvests the mature agave, uses a coa de pina, or a coa, which is a long-handled tool for cutting the leaves off of the agave. And this profession is usually handed down through families. So skills for harvesting tend to be almost innate in the humidors. One unique thing about their job is that due to the shallow root structure of the agave, they tend to grow very close to the surface. So the coa is used as a wedge to bring the agave out of the ground and also cut the leaves off of the agave. The humidors have to be very precise with cutting because the blades of the coa are actually extremely sharp. They also have to be mindful of the amount of leaves that are removed from the agave because usually the humidors are paid based on the weight of the agave. And from here on out, whenever I refer to a pina, that means a harvested agave, harvested and cut agave. So after they've been harvested, we go into transportation to the distillery. On the left, you'll see a picture of a truck that's filled to the top with pinas, hundreds of pinas. And this is just outside of the Tequila distillery. On the right, you can see the agaves that are dropped off in the distillery. And they're usually dropped off right in front of the ovens that are used to cook them. Some producers call this their piña patio. So before the piñas are cooked and after they've been transported to the distillery, they're prepped for their trip to the oven. This is usually done by cleaving them in half. This is done by axe, and each piña is about 20 to 40 pounds and are very fibrous inside. And as you can see on the right, yours truly is chopping piñas. I have to admit that this is a lot more difficult than chopping wood because of their round nature. They tend to roll a little bit while you're chopping. Then we move on to cooking. So after the piñas are prepped, the ovens are used to cook and change the complex carbohydrates into simple sugars that can be fermented. Here are two examples of ovens that can be used for production. On the left, you have an autoclave, which is a little more modern and a little more commercial. And then on the right, you have a brick oven, which is a little more traditional in style. While cooking, excess oils and water are given off, and this is called the bitter honey. And usually this is discarded because the oils from the plant can add off flavors to the tequila. On the right, those brick ovens, they're thick-walled ovens, and the agave are set to cook in them for about 24 hours. And then after cooking, they're let rest. They're allowed rest to be brought to the next step of the process. So after they're cooked and the carbohydrates are turned into simple sugars, the agave is crushed or macerated to help separate the fibers from the converted sugars. On the left, you can see a tahona, which is a traditional process, and on the right, a more modern process. When you look at the tahona, think of a very large car wheel. It's made out of stone or concrete that's used to crush the cooked agave. On the right are roller mills, which is a little more efficient in macerating the agave. Think of a line of paper shredders that sequentially bring down the size of the agave. On the left, here's a comparison of size for tahonas. This is a very large tahona at about 6 feet tall. On the right, a gentleman has completed their maceration and they're adding water and measuring the specific gravity or sugar content in the liquid that's extracted from the cooked agave. And this will tell the producers when the correct balance has been achieved, which then allows them to start fermentation. And this is where the alcohol is produced from the simple sugars that were cooked. Fermentation can occur in many different vessels. Some of those are very large oak barrels, as you can see on the left, and that's an interior picture of Tequila Fortaleza. And some of those large oak barrels are big enough to hold a car. On the right-hand side, you can see concrete tanks at the Tequila Arete distillery. Another option are stainless steel vats. Now, all of these fermentation vessels are open top fermentation, which allows gaseous byproducts to escape. Otherwise, it would be tequila champagne. Wait, someone should write that down. So this is a great opportunity to stop and talk about legal requirements for tequila. We're going to talk about a term known as mixto. So to be a tequila, you must be at least 51% agave in the mash bill for fermentation. A mixto is 51% agave and then 49% other sugars. They can usually come from corn or sugar cane. So after fermentation has been completed in any one of these vessels, we go to distillation. So these two pictures are both examples of pot stills, only in varying sizes. We won't be discussing column stills because of their highly industrialized methods of production. On the left, the pot still at Fortaleza, and on the right are larger pot stills at Tequila Don Fulano. So during distillation, this is where the concentration of the alcohol that has been produced after fermentation, which is about 4 to 7%. When we distill, we take the liquid after fermentation, we heat it to a boiling point, and then the steam that's produced will be sent to a cooling apparatus to condense the steam into liquid. There are a few different terms that we use for all of these different liquids, and by law, tequila has to be distilled at least 2 times. The first liquid that we have is the mosto. This is the liquid that's after fermentation. It's about 4 to 7% alcohol by volume, and its color is brown and amber and generally unfiltered. After your first distillation, we have ordinario. This is about 20% alcohol by volume and is mostly clear to slightly cloudy and has blue and green tints. After your second distillation, we've arrived at tequila. This tends to come off the still at about 50 to 60% alcohol by volume. This is bright, clear, and clean. When we finish distillation, the next step is aging. Blanco is usually the most genuine expression of the producer, and it can be aged, but usually isn't. Between this step and the next step is what we call Joven or gold. Joven is young. Usually it's either an addition of a color or a flavoring, or it's a blend of a Blanco with Reposado or Añejo. And most people know a certain gold tequila that they've tried in the past. Next up is the Reposado. Reposado, meaning rested, sees 60 days up to a year in oak barrels. The next step is Añejo, at least 1 year and up to 3 years. Añejo meaning old. The next step is extra añejo, anything that's over 3 years old. During this aging process, barrels are tax stamped and sealed when they're filled, and they are not allowed to be opened until they are ready to be bottled. Most producers will use bourbon barrels due to their availability historically in the proximity to the United States. So, and this is another great reason to explore tequila if you're a bourbon drinker. So after aging, we're finally ready to bottle. This is an example of a bottling line at a distillery for La Gritona. The bottles that are used at this distillery are made from recycled glass, which gives them that unique, distinct green color. And another unique factor about this distillery is that it's woman-owned and operated from start to finish. Next up is a labeling regulation that's often overlooked by consumers, the NOM number. So Norma Oficial Mexicana is the number that denotes that a bottle is an authentic tequila that's produced in Mexico. Keep in mind that NOM numbers are unique to each distillery and not the label. Distilleries will make multiple labels of tequila, but will show the same NOM. You can look up where your tequila comes from at tequilamatchmaker.com/distilleries and have a full list of distilleries and the labels that they produce. Next, drinks. So tequila is actually considered a healthier choice than other alcoholic drinks because it has less sugar and fewer calories. There are also lower levels of impurities like methanol or fusel oils when consumed in reasonable amounts. So here are some drinks that I was able to enjoy during my travels. The first is tequila straight, accompanied by what's called sangrita. And sangrita is a traditional companion to tequila, and it's usually made in-house at the bar or restaurant that you're visiting. It's slightly spicy and similar to a Bloody Mary. It's used to sip alongside a tequila and enhance its flavors. On the right, you'll see a cantarito. It's a traditional drink that was enjoyed by the Unidors after a long day's work in the hot sun. So this refreshing drink is made with grapefruit juice, orange, lemon, lime, soda, and lots of tequila. This drink actually went video viral a few years ago because of the amount of tequila that are used in the larger size vessels. Next is the Batanga. The Batanga was created at the world famous bar, La Capilla. And this cocktail was created by Don Javier as a cheap drink that people could enjoy after work. This is my personal favorite drink to make at home. Very simple. All you need is ice, tequila, Coke, Mexican Coca-Cola is best, and some limes. You can salt the rim if you'd like to. Then the best way to end the night is with a good bottle of water and some sweet tacos. So in conclusion, some parting thoughts, some gripes, and some senior yearbook level advice. Buy 100% agave tequila. Don't buy agave syrup, and always drink water. So 100% agave. I want to go back to the term mixto. The reason that people have a bad association with tequila is because of the mixto that they've consumed in the past and the sugar-filled mixes that they've accompanied with. So keep in mind that better quality is a better experience. And times are changing, and consumers like you are more interested in the quality of the products that you are consuming. Make sure that you look for 100% agave on the label of the tequila. Next is no agave syrup. Please don't buy agave syrup. 2019 was a historic price high for agave. And this affects the producers and growers because they have to shoulder the price difference of agave so that they don't raise their price for tequila. Buying agave syrup puts an unnecessary strain on the agave supply. Keeping in mind that agave matures right around 7 years, it's a long life cycle to try and offset price highs like the one that we saw in 2019. The better way to do it is to buy simple syrup or even make your own at home. And last of all, please drink water because you don't deserve that hangover. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Victor. Thanks, Connor, University Productions, and Kelly, our captionist today. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Let's connect on LinkedIn. Any questions? Yeah, I see. Let's see. So what are 2 tequilas you would recommend trying that are very different from each other? It would be neat to see the contrast. So great question, Hannah. What I would recommend is I would recommend trying tequilas that are from the same producer that are aged differently. You get to see how that spirit changes throughout the different levels of aging. In addition to that, different producers that have different aging techniques can be a great way to explore different styles of tequila. Also, as we talked about before, the differences in highland and lowlands grown agave can give you an insight as to terroir for that style of another question that I see here, Lorraine, what is on a street taco? I think and it's not a sweet taco, a street taco. A street taco is actually a very simple style of taco. It's a small corn flour tortilla that is then has some sort of meat on it. Usually the basics are onion and a little bit of just other vegetables, things like that. But very, very simple. Yeah, not usually any cheese. Joey, are bigger producers / name brands always associated with better quality, or is that a misnomer? So, Joey, you bring up a very good and complex point, is that bigger brands don't necessarily always have better quality. Sometimes they're trying to achieve a level of production that requires them to cut some corners. Sometimes it's a misnomer, but one of the biggest things that I can encourage you to do is to look for 100% Blue Weber agave or 100% agave and try and find the one that you like the best. Okay. Any other questions? Oh, Chris, does a higher priced tequila always mean a higher quality? So this is a good question. Not always. Sometimes it doesn't. With what Joey asked, you don't always get a higher quality with a higher price tequila. What we didn't go into were the use of diffusers in tequila production. And a diffuser is a way that a producer can increase a level of production to meet demand. It's higher demand. So you're not always paying for a higher quality. What you want to do is you want to find a producer that's more artisanal, something that you know has a good story behind it. And any of your bartenders or retail wine and liquor store employees will probably guide you in the right direction. Lorraine, what local bars in Rochester are good for agave spirits? I really love Bitter Honey. A good friend of mine, Zach Makita, started that, and he actually named it after the bitter honey that comes off of the agave when it's cooked. So now you know a little inside information about the name behind that bar. There's also a whole bunch of other ones in the area outside of Rochester too. But I really enjoy Bitter Honey. Okay, looks like there aren't any more questions. Hey, Victor, didn't you say we were gonna show our audience how to make an RIT Tigerita?
We sure did.
Well, how about I join you?
Yeah. Come on over. Let's make it a party.
Cool.
All right. Well, thank you, TJ, for that amazing information presentation on tequila. I know I learned a lot that was made today. It's actually been a journey to learn a lot about tequila, working actually side by side with him. I actually work at the same store as he does, so I've learned a lot just in person. I was kind of jealous when he got to go to Mexico himself and didn't take me with him, but that's fine. But TJ, come on. You're almost here. It's all right. All right. So, as we said in all of our marketing, we are going to teach you how to make RIT's Tigerita. As you can see, we have all the ingredients here. What you're going to need. Oh, I'm gonna grab that. I'll grab the ice from the cooler. Grab the ice. There you go. Oh, perfect. I like to use all our RIT branded stuff. There's a lot of stuff that you can get while you're there. So you got your ice. You have your mango frozen concentrate, peach frozen concentrate, and the subject of today is tequila. This is one of my favorites. It's very inexpensive as well. But I take it's open. Can you open that one? Yeah. It's yours, so don't want to take it from you. Perfect. And then we also got chocolate syrup, which you'll see being used for our glasses in a little bit. All right, perfect. So all the ingredients for the Tigerita are in the chat box. So if you want to just copy paste it, you totally can. So you're gonna need a blender. This is a really nice one, TJ. Okay. Real nice. We're just gonna pretty low. All right, so we got ice. You want to measure? Let's measure. For a single serving, we're going to give you the measurements for that. It's going to be 5 ounces of the mango frozen concentrate.
My science teacher would be so proud of me right now.
He's going to make it for 2 because there's 2 of us here, so this is great.
All right.
All right, perfect. I'll take that out of your way. Do the same thing for the peach frozen concentrate. Oh, it smells good. Not even on mixed it.
Perfect. It's gonna be a great happy hour.
It's got that orange color, as you know. RIT Tigers, our colors are orange and white and black. So that's all set. And then For again, one serving, it's gonna be 1 ounce or 2 ounces, depending on how strong you want to make your drink. So I'll just pour that in here real quick. All right. It's about good enough. Yeah. So we're gonna put the cap on here. There we go. Before I make this rip, we're gonna mute our side so that we save your speakers and your eardrums. Give me a second. All right, now that you don't have to hear that from us, we're all set. So.
And while Victor does that, I'm going to add the tiger stripes to the glasses. You'll take your chocolate syrup, angle your glass, and allow the chocolate syrup to coat the inside of the glass. Just like that. Perfect. Perfect tiger stripes. Go Tigers. There's a hockey game on Saturday.
Yeah, it's the homecoming game.
All right.
We're going to St. Lawrence this weekend. And actually, Brick City Homecoming weekend is starting tomorrow. We have Tig Notaro, the comedian. They're going to be at the Gordon Fieldhouse at 9 o'clock. Doors open at 8. So if you are in Rochester, make your way to Gordon Fieldhouse. And then the Blue Cross Arena is hosting our homecoming game, as they always do every year. I'm kind of glad we're actually doing things in person. It's kind of weird not having that. All right, so we take this. Ooh, I want to remove that part. You want to be careful when you're pouring it because you don't want to ruin your tiger stripes.
Oh, yeah, even it out.
There we go.
Got the green or yellow straw.
I'll take that.
All right.
There you go, folks. And that is how you make the RIT Tigerita.
Yeah. Cheers. Cheers.
Oh, it's actually super good. It's one of my favorites
Wow.
on campus.
Yeah.
But before y'all leave, I do want to give y'all some instructions, aka encourage y'all to connect with us on all of our social media platforms, such as like Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. All those links for all of our social media platforms are in the chat box. And in addition to the social media platforms, we do have an RIT only platform now started called Tigers Connect. And that's going to allow students, alumni, faculty, staff, if you're related to RIT, to network with each other, chat with each other, connect, and actually hopefully we can start some mentorships between students and alums or alums and alums. I know I'm on it. I'm going to make this one get on it a little bit later. You can connect with him on that. And we do host a lot of events just like this, in person and virtual for all of our alumni and for basically anybody who wants to support RIT. If you do want to see those events, go to rit.edu/alumni/alumni-events. You'll find a huge plethora of events going on there. And then if you want to get an actual email about some events that are happening virtually or in your area, make sure that your email is updated with our office. Cannot stress that enough. And if you want to do that with us, visit rit.edu/alumni/update-your-information. That'll give us all the information that we need so that we can give you all that information on all the events that are happening. But again, thank you, TJ, for giving us a lot of information on tequila. I had fun. I learned a lot, like I always do with you.
I had fun presenting. Thank you so much for joining us. This was a lot of fun. And
Hopefully,
yeah,
we're going to enjoy these.
cheers.
Y'all have a great rest of your day. Thank you guys for joining us for our happy hour. And yeah, go Tigers.
Go Tigers.